that is coming up on Friday. So this week you're going to be learning you're taking the test today. And then I believe on the plan, you're going to get started on a couple of things, such in the lab on Friday is specifically going to cover minerals. And like I said, it's a pretty straightforward lab from what I gathered. So let me see. Can you guys see this? The website, the Windows. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. The Word document. There we go. And then let me just increase the view so you guys can see it a little better. Okay. So part of your lesson this week is going to be learning about rocks and minerals. And rocks are made up of minerals. Okay, so kind of going back to 7th grade, which is when you were supposed to learn about rocks last, I believe. And basically remember that there are different types of rocks, but each rock can be broken down into the type of minerals. And the minerals that make up the rock tells a big story about where that rock is formed. Because if you think about it, if we think about a long time ago, there was a lot of different parts of the earth that had been made up of the sea floor. So for example, the Pacific Northwest over in Oregon, we have a lot of basalt because we used to be underground. Okay, so we've got a lot of basalt in the Pacific Northwest, especially in the gorge and the volcanoes along the ridge and the edge. That's going to be mostly made up of this type of rock called basalt. And then you can break down basalt into specific minerals. And that's how you can tell that it came from this area. Similarly, if you think about the center of the United States, when you think about the Rockies, when you think about that kind of Midwest area, that's going to be mostly made up of granite. And granite is not as something that's been submerged. It doesn't have to do with the layer of the bottom of the ocean. It has to do with the crust of the earth. So we can start looking at granite, and in parts of granite, that's when you get things like quartzite and these different types of minerals. So we can, when we are thinking about forensics and we're thinking about crime scenes, we're really focusing on trying to find out, questions like, is this where the crime happened? Did the body move? Was it moved from another location? And a lot of forensic scientists forensics geologists can figure out the location, the original location of where the body was moved from, or if it was originally from that place, based on the types of rocks, minerals, soil that are all found within the body. So that includes things like on the clothing, under the fingernails. So when we're talking about this lab on Friday, really what you're going to be doing is making comparisons. You're going to be looking at the different characteristics of a rock or of a mineral and compare the unknown to the known minerals. So the background story is that there was recreational paddlers, and they found a body of a female teenager that had bruises and mud from the riverbank. But in the socks and in the treads, there seemed to be different type of soil. So the investigators grabbed all of that material, all of that evidence, and took it to the lab to try to determine whether or not she fell down and drowned, or if she was murdered somewhere else and then dumped into the river. So there are some characteristics that we look at for the specific minerals. The color of the mineral. So that is exactly what you think when the color of the mineral. The streak. Now the streak has to do with whether or not, like if you take a mineral and you take a piece, like a piece of slate, and you draw a line that leaves a streak behind. And that streak, funny enough, doesn't always correlate with the color of the mineral. So we look at the streak and determine what kind of streak it is, and we can use that information to compare other minerals, other rocks. You've also got the luster. The luster is how shiny it can be, right? Does it shine? Does it reflect light? Or is it, flat? It just absorbs light. It doesn't give it off. Hardness has to do with exactly what it sounds. Hardness has to do with how hard it is. How easy it is for you to scratch off. Can you scratch it off with a fingernail? Do you need to use an actual nail? Or you need to use another mineral that is the hardest known mineral on Earth, which is what? Does anyone know what the hardest known mineral on Earth is? And they use this Ice is a rock. I did not know that. Cool. Does anyone know what the hardest mineral there is on Earth? It's usually something that's
Isn't it diamond?
it is a diamond. Yes, exactly. So a diamond. So then they'll use a diamond to determine what how the hardness of it, right? And then cleavage, which really just means the pattern that it breaks. So when you're talking about the way that a mineral breaks, that's what we talk about cleavage, okay? So really thinking about the way that those bonds were formed between the minerals. And then if you break it, does it, kind of have like more jagged edges? Does it break into more of a cube form? That's what we talk about when we're thinking about cleavage. And then special properties, anything else that's so like some of them are fluorescent, meaning some of them glow under UV light. Some of them react with hydrochloric acid. So we can use a lot of different properties to determine the type of mineral it is. Questions so far? Okay, great. So what you're going to do is identify the unknown mineral. So part one, it's really straightforward. Like I was saying, you're going to have all these different types of minerals. You've got calcite, mica, quartz, sulfur, magnetite, pyrite, and then you've got this unknown. And then you've got all of the characteristics already listed here in this table. So you're going to take this unknown and you're going to compare it with the rest of these minerals and determine which mineral it is. Once you do that, you're then going to look at the map of the location where the body was found, and you're going to determine from where the original source of soil is located from, aka where was the body found, or not found, but where was the body originated from? Was it from the place that it was found? Was it moved? And then you're going to answer these questions. Okay. And then I believe there's a discussion that comes with this as well. But that's the lab from my understanding. I think there may be a part two that we can briefly check. But that's really what the main part of the lab is. It's just comparing and then trying to come up with a scenario or a hypothesis. Okay, let me double check real quick to make sure that I'm not forgetting a part two, but that's really part one. Is there anything else that I can help you with for lab one? And then we can go into answering questions about past labs.
Is this due on, I'm assuming, Friday?
Correct, this is due Friday. Yeah, this is the lab that's scheduled for Friday. There's a couple of other things you're going to learn before this. Okay. Let me finish checking this and then we can move into answering questions. But yeah, that was pretty straightforward, right? Luckily, it's not something that's going to be too crazy. Hopefully it's not one of the ones that you had to like flip back and forth a lot and all that stuff. So I'm hoping that it's a little bit more straightforward than that. Okay, it does look like there's a laboratory minerals too. Let me just double check that this isn't like one of those 2-day types. There's a quiz that comes after it. Let's see. Looks like it is just interpret the results of tests to identify several mineral samples, apply the results to solve a fictional. Great. If you did not finish the lab in the previous lesson, do so now. Great. So it looks like this is the same. Why is this now? Okay, great. So that's the lab for Friday. I'm going to stop the recording now so that way people who weren't able to make it, they know what's coming up.